All right, so today what we are going to be doing is we are going to be learning about adding and subtracting polynomials. And today's date is 10/26. So the first thing I want to talk about is what is a polynomial. So a polynomial is like a function, but this function has multiple terms. So that's why it says poly. So we're going to be using 3 functions for every single thing we do today. And these functions will be f of x equals 2x minus 1, g of x equals x squared plus 3, and h of x, which equals negative x minus 2. So these 3 functions we're going to use for the entire set of notes today. So the first thing we're going to learn how to do is I'm going to change nothing. So I'm going to make a little line. This is just how I organize my notes. If you organize them a little bit differently, that's fine, but this is just how I keep myself together. So I first want to talk about adding. And when we're adding functions, it's something that you've already done in Math 1. All you do is combine like terms. So you combine all the x's, you combine all the x squareds, you combine all the regular numbers. And there's different notation for this. So the notation you can see, so I'm going to put the notation. So the notation you have for adding is you have either f of x plus g of x. And remember, these f's and these g's just are literally names of functions. You can see it like this, or you can see it in a different way. You can see it as f plus g of x. Note this x on the outside does not mean you're going to multiply it. These are the exact same thing. So let's see some examples. So our first example, we're actually going to figure out f of x plus g of x. So I go up to all my different functions here. All right, my first one, f of x. It is 2x minus 1. That's my f of x. Note how I put it in parentheses. This will come in handy when we do subtraction, so it's good to get into the rhythm of it. So now I'm adding, and I add g of x. So I look up here, g of x, I have x squared plus 3. So my functions are 2x minus 1 plus x squared minus 3. So now I'm going to look for like terms. So first I have a 2x. I look over, I have an x squared, but it's not x, so I have nothing else to combine that with. All right, I have a minus 1. Oh, I have a plus 3 over here. I combine those. And then lastly, I have this x squared. So I have this plus, so that means if I distribute that plus, I'm still adding everything here. So if I combine like terms, I have 2x, because that's the only pink. Then I have the minus 1 plus the 3, which gives me plus 2. And then lastly, I have plus x squared. So technically, this is correct, because you combined all the like terms. But it is not in the form you want it to be in. You want it to be in something called standard form, which means you write it in order from the biggest to the smallest. And what I mean by biggest is I mean the exponents. So this x squared is the biggest exponent. So I have x squared, then I have my x, so plus 2x, then I have plus 2. So this is in standard form, and whenever you're doing these things, you want to make sure you're writing them in the form where the biggest exponent is first, and then it goes from there. So let's try another example with adding. This time, let's do g plus h of x. Remember, this is the same exact thing as we're doing like up here, except it's just written differently. So I go up here, my g of x, I have x squared plus 3, and I'm going to add it with my h of x. So my h of x is negative x minus 2. So now I combine like terms again. I look at my x squared, I have nothing else to combine it with, so I just have x squared. I have my plus 3, I can combine it with my minus 2, which would give me plus 1. And then I have this minus x. Now we need to put it in that standard form, so we need to have it in order. So I have x squared minus x plus 1, and that is my final answer. So all you're doing with adding polynomials is you combine like terms. The second thing we're going to do is we're going to do subtracting. So subtracting is a little bit different. So you do combine like terms, but for this one, you must write the terms in parentheses. And the reason you must write them in parentheses is because that subtracting that negative sign is going to do something. So up here, see how I distributed that plus? Well, it still remains adding. So it doesn't really make a big difference. But for subtracting, it will make a difference. So our notation for subtraction is quite similar to that of addition. We can have f of x minus g of x. It's the same thing as f minus g of x. Remember that x on the outside, you do not multiply. It is just the variable that's attached. So let's try this. Let's first try to do f of x minus g of x. So again, I'm going to go up here. All right, f of x is right here. I have to put it in parentheses. I have 2x minus 1 minus, then I need my g of x squared plus 3. The reason this has to be in parentheses is because now you need to distribute that negative sign to everything in the parentheses on the right side of it. So I'm going to rewrite my equation. So I have 2x minus 1, and because I already distributed the negative sign, I'm not going to write my parentheses anymore. I have negative times positive x squared, which would be negative x squared, and I have negative times positive 3, which is minus 3. Now, I combine like terms. So I have this 2x, then I have negative 1 minus 3, which gives me negative 4. Then I have this negative x squared. But wait, I'm not done. I need to write this in standard form. So remember, you take it from biggest to smallest in terms of the exponent. So I have this negative x squared. Don't forget that negative. It stays with it. This is a plus 2x because there's nothing in front, so it's assumed to be positive. Then minus 4. Our very last example, we are going to do g minus h of x. And remember that notation, these mean the same exact thing. So I look up here, my g of x is x squared plus 3. Then I'm subtracting, so minus my h of x, which is negative x minus 2. So the first thing I want to do is I want to distribute that negative sign. So I distribute it to everything in every single term in those parentheses. And I rewrite. So I have x squared plus 3. Negative times a negative gives me a positive. Same with this. This is the negative times a negative. That would give me a positive as well. So now when I combine, I'm going to have x squared I'm just going to write it in standard form as well, plus x plus 5. I wrote out every little step, but as you get more comfortable with it, you don't have to write out every single step like I did here. But I highly recommend always write this first step with the parentheses, because that's where people mess up all the time. So make sure if you have any questions, you are asking me. I hope you all have a great day.